astrology is a form of higher sense perception, and some people find it difficult. But anybody who can look at a chart, I think it just takes you through to another dimension, really. If I think back to even when I was a beginner, I think, yeah, that's what was happening. That you're reading a book and you're looking at a chart, and boom, you've gone into that Uranian place. And when you study astrology, if you're somebody who can do it, you do the work, you do the study, and you get more. Then the chart becomes a wonderful key, like that turns in the lock, and you're through into a different dimension of thought.
Welcome to Caritas Consciousness Project. I'm Gloria Guidu, and Caritas is dedicated to promoting the evolution of consciousness as the key to individual growth and global healing. We draw from a wide assortment of ancient wisdom and leading-edge studies in science, consciousness, spirituality, healing, and philosophy by hosting online presentations featuring guest speakers and offering classes and study groups also online. We have close to 200, I think, of our guest speaker video recordings. I have to count them one of these days on our YouTube channel, which is Caritas Consciousness Project, and also on our website, which is caritascenter.org. As a nonprofit organization, we rely on the support of our members and donors to keep Caritas going. So if you like what we do and you want to support our program, you can make a donation or become a member with benefits on our website, any page. Tonight, or today, actually, depending on where we are, for Rebekah, it is tonight. For me, it is today for the U.S. We're so excited to once again have Rebekah Hirsch and to give us an overview of this year that we are entering. And Rebekah has been an astrologer for over 40 years. And in recent years, her understanding of astrology has shifted to a profound experience of the planetary archetypes, both as elemental currents comprising a person's human energy field, and also as a powerful living presence in the universal field. Rebekah is an advanced level graduate of the Brennan School of Healing, USA, as well as a professional archetypal astrologer, having trained with Liz Greene and Howard Sasportas at the Center for Psychological Astrology in London. She's also a trainer and facilitator of the transpersonal work known as voice dialogue. She lives in London, where she runs a private practice as an energy healer and astrologer. Her book, Charting the Soul, Astrology, Characterology, and the Human Energy Field, which is available on Amazon, was published in 2016, and it's a synthesis of archetypal astrology and the Brennan approach. Rebekah runs her own Charting the Soul workshops based on the themes from her book. She regularly gives lectures at the Astrological Lodge of London and other astrology groups, as well as teaching voice dialogue. Rebekah is also a visionary painter. Welcome, Rebekah. So good to have you. I've lost count of how many times we've hosted you.
Yeah.
And your wonderful approach
Thank
to
you.
astrology.
Lovely to be back. Very nice indeed. Yes, I'm going to kick straight off because this is a huge year, so there's an awful lot happening. And anybody with a little bit of a sort of in touch with astrology will know that this is a big year because all the three outer planets, never mind Saturn and Jupiter, are changing signs this year. So we have Pluto that has now settled in the beginning of Aquarius, but it's still only in the first degrees. And then a few days ago, Neptune moved to 0 degrees of Aries, moving from Pisces water into Aries fire. And not very far from now, in April, Uranus will leave Taurus for the last time. It'll be in Taurus and move into Gemini. So all the three big planets of change, planets of transformation, are shifting to a different sign this year. And one of the things about that is, whereas previously they've all been in signs which have the element of earth or the element of water, we're moving into a period, because they move very slowly, they're going to stay in these signs now for at least Uranus 7 years, but Neptune and Pluto much longer. Moving into the signs with the elements of air and fire, and it's something different is coming. And Gloria and I were just talking about the Chinese horoscope, and that we very soon will be in the year of the horse, and it's the year of the fire horse. And Neptune is moving into Aries, which is cardinal fire. And of course, Saturn is also moving into 0 degrees of Aries. They will be conjunct at the same time. So this is a big shift, and this never happens, by the way. They never all three go in the same 6-month period. They, normally they're sort of, this is a big change. And you only have to look out into our world, and we know that things will kind of never be the same again, really. Everything is different. Everything is waking us up. There's a lot of terrible suffering out there, and shocking things keep happening. It's not normal, whatever that was, whatever we thought normal was, it's kind of gone. So we can feel like, this is happening. It's a sort of like being in a very stormy sea. Whoa, here comes the next wave. Oh no. And it would be easy to feel gloomy about what's going on. There's some things we really don't like happening. But however, all the spiritual teachers and all the astrologers are talking about a time of transition, a time of transformation, that this is a leap of consciousness that the human race needs to make. It's like we can't anymore just tweak around the edges. Something very big needs to shift, and it is shifting. And one of the ways that I like to teach is through little guided meditations, not too long, but just because one of the things that's difficult as an astrologer is kind of like I have all the knowledge, and I don't have all the knowledge, but I'm trying to communicate it from my point of view. And more these days when I'm teaching, I want to help people to find that in themselves, because every one of us has got our own Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. We are, we're all in relationship with these great energies. And so one of the things that we'll do is break this talk up with some of those little meditations to meet with these archetypal energies in yourself. And I thought that I would start with a little meditation to contact the elements, because I'm here talking about the element of fire, the element of air, the element of earth and water. What does that mean? And so always good to start with a bit of grounding. The invitation is just to get comfortable. Close your eyes and just breathe in and start focusing on the breath and connecting with your own inner world. And as soon as I do that, I can feel a lot of busyness kind of moving away and coming into that inner stillness, which is always there. And just keep breathing, and nobody has to get in a fight with their thoughts or anything like that. Just keep breathing and being with yourself. And we're going to start by meeting with the element of earth. So I invite you to take your focus right down at your own speed. Keep breathing and breathing down, maybe down to the lower dantian in the belly, into the pelvic cradle. And in whatever way works for you, you're reaching down, putting down roots, dropping your energetic vertical power current right down into the earth. This land where you are, the place, your home. And as we breathe down into our connection to the earth, starting to feel the love of the earth, this great miracle, this beautiful, beautiful planet, and the love of the earth for us. And the feeling that love and nourishment and support rising up, flowing up into your body, into your energy field. And if you can, is feeling in gratitude for the body, this miracle of the body, the miracle of matter, of biology, of the cells and the muscles and the bones. This wonderful vehicle that we live in, that we love and which loves us. And the whole experience of being in the body. And this is the element of earth. It's our connection to nature, to the soil, to the rocks, the trees, the animals, the wonder of the animal kingdom, the beauty of a flower, the wonderful sense of nature, all the senses of hearing, seeing, touching. What an incredible gift, the nervous system that brings all these sensations to our experience. So the earth, the body, the physical experience of being alive. And keep breathing. And in your own way, kind of moving the focus up to the heart and meeting with the element of water. And if you can, feeling the difference, the earth energy, so much about the senses and about the body and the material world. And then you come to the element of water, and suddenly it all expands right out, like entering the ocean, like a vast ocean, where there is much less structure, much less separation, kind of all one. And how does that feel? Breathing into your heart. Who is it that you love? What is it that you love? And what are you feeling right now? And there's no good and bad here. What are the feelings? What are the feelings of today? What is the feeling response to some of what I've been saying? The emotions. The emotional reaction, which is not rational, It's just like this feeling is just arising in me. All the feelings, joy, anger, happiness, sadness. And this is the world of water, the element of water, which is about how would we feel. This flow of emotions, which can be the most beautiful thing in life, can be the feelings of love and joy, the feeling of communication, of being in contact with another being, with an animal, with nature. And this is coming through water, through the element of water, through the feelings. And keep breathing, and then in your own way, going up to, rising up maybe to the sixth chakra or seventh, and to the world of the mind, the world of air. And the world of air is linked to the world of water, but it's so different. It's verbal, it's mental, it's logical, it's rational. It can be cold, it can be detached, but it's thoughts and words and formulas, mental, rational, analytical, logical. This is the world of air. And it can be poetic. It can be great literature, it can be poetry, but it can be mathematical formulas, it can be quantum mechanics, it can be, the mental, logical, rational approach to science. But it's the mind, and it's your mind. It's your mind that understands and interprets and speaks and communicates. It's very, very important. We kind of relate with the heart, with water, with emotion, but we also relate with words, with concepts and ideas. This is the element of air. And lastly, if you take your focus right up through the crown chakra and reaching out to the sky, reaching out to spirit, reaching out to the imaginal realm, to dimensions beyond the physical. And this is kind of the raw life force, which is fire, which is just I live, I am. And the connection to the divine, the connection to imagination, to see beyond the physical, to see into other worlds, and to have that wonderful experience of contact with the divine, with spirit, those precious moments when everything falls away and we know the love of the divine, and then you know that we are divine. And creativity, when the life force is flowing, and the imagination and the creativity and the longing to act, to create something, to make something happen, to write the story of your own life. And keep breathing and just feeling that, these different elements, these different worlds, the world of fire and inspiration and reaching out to the heavens, and the world of earth, the beauty of the body and the passage of time, and the element of earth, and the feeling response of water, the emotions, the flow from sadness to happiness, and the element of air, the mind that understands, that analyzes, and can speak and communicate. So take a deep breath, feeling your center. All the centers open and ready, I guess, ready particularly with the element of air to carry on and to hear about the astrology of 2026. So in your own way and in your own time, coming back into. So I hope that, I mean, I'm sure people already have their own, but you have that sense of these 4 different elements, very important in astrology. So I'm going to go and look for my slides. There we go. And let's go back to the beginning. Sorry, how that happened. Here we go. Air and Fire, the astrology of 2026. I'm going to move along. So I think I started by saying that these big changes, all the outer planets, and the outer planets, by the way, my teacher House Sasportas called them the gods of change, because whenever the outer planets come through, whenever they get active, they bring about change, they bring about transformation. Whenever they means that things will not be the same, and sometimes that's very uncomfortable. Sometimes we can feel quite anxious. You've got a big Pluto transit coming or a big Saturn transit. But actually, all of them, all 3 of the outer planets and Saturn, they are about transformation. They are about taking some part of your energy, of your consciousness, and moving it through to higher, more conscious expression. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. And I think our best hope with the events that are occurring around us in our world at the moment is that this is the discomfort of something that is being broken down, something that has to leave, so that a new level of consciousness can come in. I don't know if people can read a chart. It's just, this is a very nice day, 19th of July this summer. Glasses. Everything's at 4 degrees, if you see what I mean. So we can start with Uranus is here at 4 degrees of Gemini, and then Neptune's here at 4 degrees of Aries, and Pluto's here at 4 degrees of Aquarius. So they're all talking to each other. They're all in aspect to each other, and they are harmonious aspects. It's pretty powerful. I've put the moon in there at 4 degrees of Libra as well to sort of complete that little kite. But and this is the way the current is moving towards these 3 incredibly powerful planets moving in harmony. And, you know, we have to hope that this is evolutionary. Well, I hope. So I'm going to start with Uranus. And there's so much information. I know I'm going to run out of time if I'm not careful. I think a lot of people are interested in, so here we go, Uranus entering 0 degrees Gemini. What does that mean? Yes, the most recent time that Uranus entered 0 degrees of Gemini was in 1942. So that was during the Second World War. That one thing that is very obvious, that I think we had a huge wave of geniuses came through who were born in the early 1940s with Uranus in Gemini. And some of the early ones had a Saturn Uranus conjunction in Gemini. But there's something about, so Gemini is mutable air, it's the mind, it's communication, it's words, it's wit, it's music, it's poetry. And Uranus is very happy in Gemini. And here we go, into the next 7 years of Uranus in Gemini. And who knows, if there's going to be another wave of geniuses. People of immense originality. Uranus goes with originality and creativity. Going back much further in history, I think this one is interesting. In April 1440 was the invention of the printing press. The first books were published, which made knowledge that had previously only been available to priests, suddenly there was available to the public, to anybody who could read. And the church didn't like it at all. They tried to suppress it, but it was immensely popular. And within a few years, thousands of books were circulating around Europe. And I think we've got all our anxiety about AI, and in England, we are, at the beginning of wanting to bring in legislation to make it illegal for teenagers to have smartphones. I think that's what's on the cards. It's already happened in Spain. It's already happened in Australia, because we're recognizing how dangerous these wonderful little machines are, that they're addictive, and that they are messing up our children's lives. So I'm not in any way denying the negative that comes from all of this, the social media and so on. Nevertheless, the genie's out of the bottle. I don't think it's going back in. We just have to learn how to manage it. And I think, hopefully something as positive as the first printing press might emerge. Something else, it's different flavor in 1524, when Uranus entered 0 degrees of Gemini. This was the start of the peasants' revolt, the biggest uprising of the lower classes of the peasants in Europe until the French Revolution. It wasn't at all successful. I think 100,000 people were killed or whatever. I think we feel some of that on the streets today, that the people who are dealing with poverty or lack of opportunities, or just generally objecting to the way our governments are acting, that that there's some of that. I mean, all the people on the streets of Minnesota, but other places in the world, where great waves of people are coming out onto the streets and saying, no, this is not okay. And this is Uranus. Uranus rules revolution. I'm just going to say this before I move on. In 2 years' time, the USA gets a Uranus return. That is on the day of the Declaration of Independence, July the 4th. Uranus back then was at 8 degrees of Gemini, and in 2028 it will return to 8 degrees of Gemini. And I'm not quite sure what that means, but there's something about Uranus is very happy in Gemini, and this revolutionary change. Uranus rules freedom. Let's have a look what we got here. Well, this is Uranus as the sky god. This is where we just looked at the element of the mind. Yeah, revolution, the French Revolution, the American Revolution. And freedom. Freedom is a huge keyword for Uranus. Uranus is very mental. It's the ruler of Aquarius, which is an air sign. It's moving into Gemini, which is an air sign. And so it's the ideal. There's a lot of ideals with Uranus, a sort of which is why it has so much associated with revolution. Let me see if I've got these. Yeah, never mind. I'm going to talk about Prometheus because I am going to run out of time if I'm not careful. So one of the stories that we associate with Uranus, with the archetype of Uranus, with his love of freedom, is also the story of the evolution of consciousness. There's just such a lot to say. So Prometheus, the myth of Prometheus, the Greek myth about how Prometheus, the god who was a Titan, defied Zeus or Jupiter, the king of the gods, and took the fire of Olympus, which is the fire of spirit. It's, it's where we just went with the element of fire. He took the fire from Olympus and gave it to the human race and taught them how to use fire. And from that, everything evolves from that. Because without fire, we kind of remain as animals, just surviving on the earth and dependent on climate and stuff like that. But once we have fire, we become more inventive. I was just in Sweden this weekend. I was lucky enough to visit some friends there. So cold, so snowy. But the Swedes are so good. They absolutely know how to stay warm in the cold. And you come in, we're going in the sauna, or you come into your house and it's warm. As soon as you get back in, it's warm. This is fire. That's the most basic kind of fire. And but what happens when Prometheus delivers fire to the human race? It initiates a process. And Prometheus, of course, in the myth, is horribly punished for stealing the fire and defying Zeus and giving consciousness to the human race. And Jupiter, Zeus sends down Pandora's box, which he opens so that all the spites come out into the world: sickness, old age, strife, jealousy, or but also, last of all, out of Pandora's box comes the spirit of hope, and that's another key word for Uranus. It's visionary. It's looking to the future. It's seeing, a path. Uranus sees a path, wants to make things better. Uranus wants to make things better, which is, you want to talk about the status quo and making things safe and stable, we're talking about Saturn. But in Aquarius, you move into this Uranian energy. So I want things to improve. I want it to be better for my children than it was for me. How can I make things better? And sometimes that's politically, sometimes that's with wonderful inventions, like the whole thing of computers and AI, for good or bad, that is ruled by Uranus, ruled by Aquarius. And we are heading into 2,000 years of the age of Aquarius. This is not going away. It's something we have to bring consciousness to. I'm just going to talk about, in the last few years, I have been introduced to an online meditation group worldwide. And in this meditation, you have to do it with another person. If you don't, it's not the same if you do it on your own. But you end up going on Zoom into a Zoom room, and you're not meeting like having a chat with this person on the screen. You just make eye contact and you ask the Zen question, what are you experiencing now? And you get 5 minutes to talk, and then the other person. Now, something happens, which I still don't know how it happens, but basically when these two faces meet and these eyes make eye contact, and you're just going through whatever is occurring, in my experience, it is like going to nirvana. And maybe a lot of people all over the world are starting to have the experience of a different level of consciousness and going beyond all the struggles and strife of our daily life and taking consciousness through into another dimension in which hatred and fear are not They don't even make sense. They don't even really, they just don't exist there. And it's not, I don't become a different person. I don't then, I'm still sitting in my room looking into my computer screen, but I am able to reach an aspect of consciousness just by being in contact with one other person. And the evolutionary collective leader, Patricia Always, she said, this experience of two people creating some kind of portal to another dimension, she said, this is new. This wasn't possible in the 20th century. We just didn't know. It just couldn't happen. And now it can. And this is coming. And I think this is Aquarius. I think this is Uranus. I think, we've always talked about Aquarius, Uranus rules Aquarius as the sign of friendship and groups, but I think this is a different level because I think the last two signs of the zodiac, Aquarius and Pisces, are leading us to transcendent states of consciousness. And these states of consciousness are coming and they're going to become the norm. If we don't get totally lost, there's a lot of stuff to get lost in at the moment. And the negative of Uranus is negative use of AI and stuff like that. And the negative of Uranus doesn't feel. Uranus is not about feelings. It's pure mind. It's mental. It's formulas. It's logic. And if you have Uranus without compassion, without love, without the elements of earth and water, then we go off into these insane technologies that these incredibly clever people can create killing machines, atomic bombs. That's the risk of Uranus. That would be a risk of Uranus and Gemini. Very, very clever. Very, very clever with social media. Very, very clever with AI. Where's the heart? Where's the body? Where's the compassion? We need it all. But above all, Uranus wants this evolution of consciousness and it wants freedom. So, well, let's do a very quick. Yeah, no, we're doing all right. And by the way, do please put up your hand if you have a question or a comment. It's great if people want to give a little bit of feedback as we're going along. But for now, let's just quickly close our eyes. As soon as I do that, and as soon as I breathe in, I can feel the difference, where the attention is going forward and into the screen and coming back. Contact with self. Keep breathing and breathing into your inner world. And just without analyzing, feeling, how the words and everything is impacting you. Deep breath. And in your own way, I invite you to take your focus up to the sixth chakra, up to the brain, and then out, seventh chakra, crown chakra, and right out into the cosmos. And this is where Uranus is at home. Uranus is the god of the sky. He loves outer space. He loves the perfection of the stars. He's a great idealist, Uranus. And he's a visionary. He can see the future. And he brings in genius and inspiration, a dream, a vision, a possibility. And can keep breathing. And the invitation is to connect with Uranus in your own system, in your own energy field, in your mind, in your body, in your life. And keep breathing and thinking about these inspirational words: freedom, evolution of consciousness, imagination, originality, innovation, creativity. And keep breathing. And how is this? How are you connecting with Uranus in your own life? And how is Uranus connecting with you? And just being with yourself. And where am I looking for freedom? Where am I looking for that inspiration? Something revolutionary, something new. He is one of the greatest bringers of change. Where do I need freedom in my life? And wherever, whatever arises, feeling, seeing the light of Uranus illuminating the path. Element of air, Gemini air, feeling the wind that blows through, that wants to bring change. And just noticing your relationship with this archetype. Where does Uranus want to work with you in your life? And when you're ready, just kind of, keep breathing and hold on to what is the element of this experience, what's the core of learning, and then breathing yourself back. If anybody feels like they would like to share about their experience of Uranus or anything that has come up so far, no pressure, nobody has to share, just if that would feel good. Okay. So Neptune. And in Greek mythology, Neptune is a male deity. He's a god. Poseidon in the Greeks, sorry, Neptune in the Roman. And I feel that a lot of feminine energy, a lot of goddess energy with Neptune. Whereas Uranus is up in the sky and with thoughts, and formulas that can be like that goes there and that goes there, and that's a very Gemini thing to do, to like kind of pigeonhole things. Not for Neptune. And Neptune, all the boundaries disappear. When we are with Neptune, is when we can feel the oneness of all of life. Neptune is often goes with healers. The healers often have a strong Neptune with their ability to feel other people's feelings. A person who has Neptune strong in their chart, you just have to walk into a room and you can immediately feel something is occurring here. is it joyful? Is it gloomy? You sense the vibrationally, and you kind of think with your heart because you're feeling what is occurring. And Neptune can go with very ecstatic states of connection with the divine when there is no boundary, there is no separation between matter and spirit, whereas you feel the presence of the angels, the earth spirits, or one of the deities, whatever. You feel how there's no separation, and you feel that beautiful eternal light, flow, the eternal flow. So Neptune can be so wonderful and inspiring. Well, Neptune's going to do a funny thing, because we think of Neptune as this so gentle. One of the key words for Neptune, have I got a slide? So this is compassion. I don't think I have. No. Stay with this. Compassion, sensitivity, healing, spirituality, mysticism. Like Uranus, the ability to go into the dream world, but in a much more mystical sort of way. And Neptune has been, for the last 15 years, been going through Pisces, which is its own sign. So, very much at home in Pisces water sign. And Neptune is now at 0 degrees of Aries. And they are very, very different. This is fire. Aries is cardinal fire, and it's about taking action. It goes with heroic energy, goes with warrior energy, goes with war. Aries was the god of war in the Greek mythology. And if you get a person who is too much of this, who really lacks boundaries, and there's difficulty with asserting boundaries, difficulty with saying no, over anxious to please, to merge, then as an astrologer, I would say to them, well, you need a bit more Mars. You need a bit more of that Aries energy, and me, myself, my life force. And here is Neptune going into Aries. And well, the key words that I've heard people say is this is about the spiritual warrior, that we are entering a period when we have to take action, when we can no longer just say, look, I'm not engaging with this. I'm going to go and meditate. There are things happening in our world which needs every ounce of our compassion, of our healership, of empathy. And yeah, go on, Gloria. Yeah.
No, I was saying, in addition, like in keeping with what you're saying, all of our presence, need all of our presence. We can't be just tuning out. We need to, which Neptune can easily do, but in Aries,
space out, absolutely, yeah. Yes, Aries is be here now. Right, I am here now. It's the raw life force. Aries, it's the cardinal, first fire sign, and it's the moment of birth. It's like, woo, I'm alive. I'm here. I've made it to this planet. I'm in my body. I live. I have consciousness. And what am I going to do? Because it's a doing sign. Yes, and Neptunian people could so easily, they would just much rather space out and go to the dream world and prayer, and so there's something about the times, if you think with Uranus and the evolution of consciousness, how is that going to happen? Except that the people who can understand Neptune and Uranus, who can experience the presence of the divine, who can meditate into stillness, who can vibrationally tune in to others with compassion and empathy and can bring healing. There's a call now. It's a call from Aries, just as Gloria was saying, it's no, you can't just sit back and disappear into your cave or your ashram or whatever. There's a world out there there's enormous need for people, anyone who can bring in the light. Well, that's a funny thing to say because we're all made of light and so on, and yet there just seems to be an awful lot of confusion and darkness and deception and abuses of power and so on. I'll come down to Pluto in a bit. We need the light. And every time that you meditate or that you meet somebody with compassion and empathy, or you go into a healing mode, you're bringing in the light. We're building a bridge. We're weaving a road. And if the evolution of consciousness is real, then we may be living through the most amazing time, because there may at this point be a real something happening. I mean, I have heard, and we all go on the internet, I don't know, that we are being rewired. That even our brains, our nervous system, every time we bring in the light, where we connect with unconditional love, so something chemical alchemy is occurring. And this, I think, is the spiritual warrior. This is the work of Neptune in Aries. Moving from Neptune in Pisces, where we developed so much awareness around all this stuff, and now in Aries, we have to live it.
It's funny. Some months back, maybe 6 months ago or more, I was meditating and I was told, I heard this phrase, right? It's time for the awakened ones to lead.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And I thought to myself,
that's it.
Okay, so the problem is that the ones who crave power are the ones who tend to lead.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not usually the awakened ones.
No. No.
And so, the awakened ones are not craving power, right? Because they know we are the power. We have the power already. Yes. We don't need to look outside externally and get power from other people, power over, right? So we are not the ones who tend to want to lead. In fact, in indigenous cultures, at least some indigenous cultures, I read in Steve Taylor's book, Disconnected, when they wanted to choose a leader for something, some project, some whatever, if they saw that somebody wanted to lead, that person was automatically disqualified because they knew that person would be trouble.
Yeah.
And so Neptune in Aries, when you were just saying what you were saying, it reminded me of hearing that message. It's time for the awakened ones to lead. And I thought, yeah, and how do you motivate them to want to lead, right? So,
yes.
Yeah, that combination of awakened and leadership.
Yep.
Or at least action.
Yes, taking action. And I guess that after thousands and thousands of years of patriarchy, we've, and developed a terrible, toxic masculine. Our concept of leadership is full of those kind of figures, of the robber barons, the people with the guns, the people with the money, and just keep out of the way. Just try and keep out of the way. And I guess that has to change. And Saturn is also moving into 0 degrees of Aries. When is it? I've got it here somewhere. 20th of February, they will be exactly together at 0 degrees of Aries, and Saturn goes with patriarchy and law and so on. But they're working absolutely together for these next few months. Yeah. And that's what's trying to happen, isn't it? We have to just change the way we think about things. We certainly have to return to values of love and decency and so on, but we do need a new model of leadership, and maybe that goes back to Uranus in Gemini, where it's there's a whole thing about democracy and consensus and ordinary people working together, grassroots, all this kind of thing. Different model of leadership, not an emperor or a pope, or a king, top down, but everybody matters. And we're seeing that all over the place. I think there's a young generation born with Uranus, Neptune in Capricorn. My youngest son has this, and I have a lot of time for them because they seem to be bringing through a new wave, and they've got quite a threatening, difficult future ahead of them with climate change and these ghastly politicians. But they seem to be coming with this vision of grassroots, of people helping each other, ordinary people helping each other. And of course, Neptune absolutely loves that. Just to look at this.
Well, Saturn can give the practicality that is needed, right?
Yep, the structure.
The structure and the discipline. I don't know.
I mean, Saturn rules politics and law and the police and stuff like that. But if we look at some of this, in 1989, out of the blue, really, when Saturn was exactly conjunct Neptune at 10 degrees of Capricorn, the Berlin Wall. I mean, presumably there'd been talks behind the scenes and there were wheels turning, but suddenly it actually happened. And then the release of Nelson Mandela. These problems that seem to be so entrenched in the fabric of our world, and they're gone. That's over. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's that element of Capricorn and Saturn.
Yeah.
In there too.
Which could be very, boy, do you need that with Neptune, because otherwise you lose it. Neptune is great when you're meditating, and Saturn like be here. So this is some of the wounds of that can come with Neptune. It does go with drug addiction and stuff like that. Goes with Jesus. Jesus is goes with the archetype of Neptune.
Rebekah, excuse me. Would you go back to that other slide that you just kind of whizzed through?
Yes.
That one. Can we look at that for just a moment?
Yeah, sure. Yep. This is this is what happens with Neptune when we get lost. And actually it's very important because we're living in this post-truth world, and blimey, deception after deception, the Epstein files, and this is negative Neptune. I was going to look at the Epstein chart, and I've got Harvey Weinstein's later on. A lot of them have this Saturn Neptune conjunction, but this strong Neptune, and they're lost. If you're going to manage Neptune, you've got to know how to ground, you've got to know how to meditate, you've got to know how to open your field. If you don't, you're going to end up in enormous confusion. And the young people who don't know what they're doing, they end up with drugs, they end up with addictions, they end up with codependent relationships, and they end up with lies and deceptions. I mean, Neptune goes with Hollywood and movies and the creation of those, operas and ballets, beautiful images, but it also goes with fantasy and people who get lost in a fantasy world.
And hallucinations.
Hallucinations.
Yeah.
So much.
I think that the thing about Neptune is that it's it's mystical, right? And people who have Neptune very strong in their prominent in their chart, it's like they have a foot in another dimension.
Yes.
And if they don't have a foundation in, knowing who they are, or in a healthy form of transcendence, because Neptune rules transcendence, then they feel this, they know there's something more than meets the eye, right?
Yep.
They know there's something transcendent, that there's this other dimension, but they don't, if they don't have any foundation in how to approach that other dimension, or even what it's about, then they feel an emptiness that maybe other people don't have. And so they need to fill that emptiness, and that's what leads to the addiction.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, if they don't know how to feed that mystical sense, then they will feed it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is our society, that, our education system, there's just about nothing there to help a young person to trust that what that they're feeling, and they often they will be very sensitive. They feel things very deeply, and then they can't cope, and that's another reason to sort of numb yourself with drugs. Or
you want to escape.
Escapism.
Yeah,
absolutely. And well, we look out in our world, and it's just happening. All of this is
this Jeremy Taylor, with whom I studied dream work, he said that addiction is failed spiritual search.
I really, I so feel that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That there's something more, and this, heroin, whatever, now I've got the more. Now I can feel that other, and and it's such a dangerous, or relationship addiction, or food addiction. Just trying to get that, and we just want to remember who we are. That's so we've got all this, the fantasy and so on, but the experiences, the gentleness. I'm going to move on, because otherwise we won't time for questions. Can go with the victim. Often goes with victim, because people just not coping with physical life. Can be very separated from the body. Recently I got a bit sick. I got very sick of the Greek myths, because I think they're very patriarchal. And I've been looking at the legends of King Arthur, and the whole thing of the Holy Grail, and it's it's here on Earth, and and it's got this beautiful container, and he has the Knights of the Round Table. He makes a round table so that everybody, we're not all sitting in rows looking up at the king. I'm not, and rushing through this, but when Percival, in the quest for the Holy Grail, and he's looking for the Holy Grail, and he has to ask the right question, and the first time he comes into the presence of the Holy Grail, he doesn't say anything. He's young, and he's a bit shy, and then he's told, "You've really blown it. If you'd asked the right question, there would have been a massive healing because of the land." So he spends years being a very good knight, but eventually he does get back to the wasteland, to the castle, and he's in the castle, and the Holy Grail comes, and he steps forward and he says, "Whom does the Grail serve?" So when he was a young man, it's like, I want the Grail. I want it for me, so I can be famous, and I'm going to be the best knight. And then with maturity, it's like, what can I give? Who can I serve with this light? And And there are some wonderful, much more feminine, female deity. There's Lady Nimu, the Lady of the Lake, who brings these mystical women, Lady Blancheflower, who carries the Holy Grail. They're all, part of the, which is Aries. I'm thinking with Aries, Neptune in Aries. The warriors, the knights of the round table, but they're using their strength and their courage to serve. Whom does the Grail serve? How can I serve? Not to take power, and I'm having that because I want it, but to protect and to hold.
And isn't the Grail itself a feminine symbol?
Very much so, yes. Because it's a container, and it's the feminine, isn't it? The physical container, the body, but into it comes the light of inspiration from the divine, and it's through the feminine it then passes on. And these images, this goes more with alchemy, but it's all what the Arthurian legends are about. It's the union of the masculine and the feminine. When the feminine is in service, the masculine is in service to the feminine, which is receiving the divine guidance. And of course, that's in all of us. We've all got a masculine and a feminine. It's not that you have to find the right man or the right woman, not at all. But it's bringing these two together, the strength and courage, combining with the ability to hear and to perceive and be with the divine. Right. Well, we got time. Let's make sure we do this. Let's very quickly do a quick meditation to meet with good image, with Neptune. So yes, take a breath and connect as you breathe in with yourself, and lots of words and images and ideas. So just breathing. I'm almost kind of leaning back into bringing the energy field into stillness. Feeling the earth, the body. And then it's so much breathing into the heart. And into the sixth chakra, feeling the presence of the divine, of guides and angels that are working with you, of the ancestors, of the non-physical loving energies that surround you always. Keep breathing, and even as you breathe up, you might feel the presence of Jesus or the goddess, or Buddha, of any deity, the one that matters to you. Feeling that blissful connection to the unseen world. And keep breathing and feeling the love that comes to each of us from the divine. And no matter what, you are loved. And keep breathing and feeling those beautiful connections. And then in your own way, asking the question, whom does the Grail serve? What is the role that Neptune is playing in my life? If I look on the pathway of my life, is there guidance? where is it? What is it where I really experience the presence? Is it in nature? Is it in a church or a temple? Is it in meditation? Is it with music? Is it with music that I remember the song of the divine? And allowing that Neptunian, that wonderful, loving, compassionate, empathic, universally loving light and anything that we've talked about the spiritual warrior, or just about that wonderful feeling of compassion, the memory of oneness, the memory of the divine, remembering the unconditionally universal love, which is what we're born from. And allowing that to come right into your field, into your being, and into your heart. And there may be a vision, there may be a song, there may be a dream. This is Neptune. And when you're present and in contact with the earth and with yourself and with the divine, then Neptune is a wonderful experience. The memory that we are one with all of life. And keep breathing and starting to focus yourself back, ready to come back into the room, into the talk. And as you do, keep breathing and do get yourself back into a body. Make sure that you're feeling grounded and present, that you can feel your feet and your legs, your hips. As we're going to talk about Pluto. So, in traditional astrology, Pluto wasn't discovered in the times of ancient astrology, but in the 20th century, since the discovery of Pluto, it's one of the planets that people get very anxious about. In mythology, he was the lord of death. He was the king of the underworld. And when Pluto comes, when you get a Pluto transit, it does often go with death. Something dies. Doesn't mean physical death necessarily. Doesn't mean, but it can be the death of a loved one. It can be the ending of a relationship. It can be the ending of a career. So, it can be an ending. He is the god of death. So very often when we have a transit from Pluto, it's not comfortable. Pluto's the god of the underworld, and he brings up all this stuff from the unconscious, and we realize why this relationship is toxic, or that career path was whatever, big mistake or whatever. Pluto also rules birth, and it really does, to the same extent that it rules death. It does rule birth. It is, and if I think back to pregnancy, when you are pregnant and give birth, there is a death involved. There's the death of the maiden. There's the death of the free young spirit, because you're moving into responsibility of parenthood and so on. But it's sort of more associated with something that is no longer functioning in your life, and it has to go, but you don't want it to go, and you're hanging on, and then Pluto comes along and bam, it's over. And then out of the ashes comes the phoenix, comes the regeneration, and something new is born. And the incredible, processes of metamorphosis, where we go from a kind of seed of an idea or a relationship or whatever that will eventually grow and transform into new life. And apart from, never underestimate that he is the Lord of the dead. He is the Lord of the underworld. But what Pluto, above all, about is power. And it absolutely does not mean power over another. It means that you are born as a powerhouse. You have all this creative life force inside of you. And just the power of the cells, just as we're sitting here, billions of things are happening in your body, literally billions. All the little nerves passing their messages, the cells burning oxygen to create energy, your muscles just knowing what to do just because you tell them. And these unconscious, instinctive activity that maintains life, this is Pluto. And so Pluto is the opposite of Uranus. It's not about what you think, but it's like, what is happening in my body and what is my gut feeling? It's not rational, it's instinctive. It's like, I just know this isn't good for me. Or, I know I have to go this way without it's not the element of air, though it's now in Aquarius, which is airy, instinct. And who has the power? Very often when we have Pluto transits and so on, we feel as though someone else has the power and they're out to get us or overpower us or take our power away or steal something from us. But really, even in those difficult experiences, what Pluto is trying to teach us is you have the power. Everybody has enormous creative power. And the wound of Pluto, of course, is abuse of power. And I hope I'm going to have time to talk about Pluto in Aquarius, because boy, are we seeing that out there in the world, the abuse of power. It goes with the shadow. It goes with all those aspects of self that have got pushed into the unconscious. The Lord of the Underworld is talking about the unconscious. And it can go with experiences of disempowerment or manipulation, and it can lead to depression. And I would never underestimate Pluto, because wherever we are out of alignment with our power, then one of these things is going to come and get us. Pluto discovered 18th of February 1930, a time of the splitting of the atom, and the dire consequences of that. Very soon, a few years afterwards, Hitler becomes the Chancellor of Germany, and very quickly we get the rise of Nazism, and Hitler passes a law that overrides human rights. And we're not a million miles away from that in our world at the moment. March 1933, Hitler opens the first concentration camp. I'll come back to that. So what we're dealing with, keep an eye on the time. Oh yes, the last time that Pluto entered, so Pluto's in Aquarius. It's actually 3 or 4 degrees into Aquarius at the moment, but quite recently in the last few, it entered 0 degrees of Aquarius, big shift, leaving Capricorn and moving into Aquarius, where it will be until 1943 or something, 2043, long time. And we're, a lot of astrologers think we are at the beginning of the age of Aquarius. So Pluto enters Aquarius, and there's enormous focus on Aquarius. The US Declaration of Independence happened with Pluto. It was in Capricorn for Independence Day, but it very soon, in a matter of a month, moved into 0 degrees of Aquarius. When Pluto made its journey recently through Capricorn, Pluto enters Capricorn in the beginning of 2008, and immediately we get the collapse of our whole banking system. And then what it does is we see the corruption, we see the greed, the corruption, so on, that underpin the banking system. We see a lot of stuff in politics. We get Me Too, we get Black Lives Matter, we get lots of and all the time that Pluto is in Capricorn, we get this great wave of wealth going to the elite. We develop this billionaire class at the expense of ordinary people. Well, I'm just going to quickly look at the chart of Harvey Weinstein, because this is Pluto here at 19 degrees of Leo, and this is Mars here at 18 degrees of Scorpio. That's a square. Mars, is like with the Aries energy, it's male, masculinity, sexuality, and it's square Pluto. So already there's quite a dark energy there. And we've got the moon conjunct Chiron. I probably haven't got time to go all the way into this. We've got as the Saturn-Neptune conjunction as we have now. But I think this Pluto square the ascendant and square Mars, I think that this is, Weinstein, and this moon square Saturn, moon exactly square Saturn. It's a lot of distortions around sexuality, around the feminine. And so the times that we're in, we have well, let's go back to this then. We have Pluto in Aquarius, where it's going to be for a long time. And what we see happening, just so when Pluto entered Capricorn, Capricorn rules finances, politics, and law. And immediately we get this big collapse, a big crash, because the way we are running our finances is corrupt. And Pluto brings the whole house of cards down, and we need to rebuild. And when Pluto now moves into Aquarius, we're still looking at those values, what happened, and we're still seeing, I think I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. When you look out at Trump, at Putin, at Netanyahu, at a lot of world leaders, it's, going back to what Gloria was saying earlier on, this is not the right use of power. These are the robber barons. This is not Percival asking whom does the Grail serve. This is the Sheriff of Nottingham saying, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. And the abuse of power with Mars for Weinstein, with Mars on the ascendant, and this whole growing awareness of toxic masculinity, of rape culture, and pedophilia. These are the ghastly expressions of the dark side of human nature, and that is what Pluto, god of the underworld, is going to go down into the underworld, and he's going to say, hey, look at this. This is what you do. These are the kind of people that you choose to lead your nations. These are the kind of crimes that you allow, that you don't care about. The lies, the deceit, the greed, and excuse me. And this is Pluto's job, is to get down there with a spade and dig it up, dig it up. I know what I've missed. I've missed off one of my slides. Have I got it? There's this one. Well, okay, let's go back here. These are some of the myths that go with Pluto. And one of them is the story of Medusa, who has the snakes for hair. And if she anybody looks at her face, they get turned to stone. And recently I came across this wonderful statue of it's called Medusa holding the head of Perseus. So instead of Perseus coming to chop off the head of Medusa, here's Medusa holding the head of Perseus. Because what has happened to Medusa is that she was just a beautiful young woman, and she was serving in the temple of Athena. And Poseidon was having a quarrel with Athena, and he couldn't do anything to Athena because she's too powerful. So he just goes and rapes Medusa for no reason. She's just there doing her job. And because Athena can't do anything to Poseidon, she punishes Medusa. She gets turned into a monster. She gets turned into the Gorgon. She has to go and live in the far frozen north. She gets snakes for hair. So no wonder people turn to stone when they look at her, because she is full of bitterness and sorrow at her fate. And it's so unfair. And when Perseus comes and chops off the head of the Gorgon, and takes the head away, and he looks back into the cave, and out of the body, the beheaded body of Medusa, out flows Pegasus, the flying horse, this beautiful spirit of freedom that has been locked up in her body. And I just think this is a great metaphor for our time, that for everybody, for men and women, the feminine has been locked away and punished and oppressed, and it doesn't work for anybody. And the masculine has turned to cruelty and disregard, insensitive stuff, whatever, the toxic masculine and the disempowered feminine. And many people are saying now is the time, and I feel it. The goddess is coming back. They're asserting of the feminine, whatever that means. I know we live in gender fluid times, but something about the Holy Grail, about the human body being the container for the divine light. And when Pluto works, then what happens is you regain that freedom of Pegasus. You get the fire of creativity represented, the things that have been oppressed and taken away and locked away. And, Pluto in Latin means treasure. And it is associated with hidden treasure. I've got Aladdin's cave here. Something that has been oppressed and disempowered and pushed down into the darkness. When you bring in the light, then it turns to gold. Then it turns, anybody an astrologer who's been through a bit of life will have had that experience of a Pluto transit, which destroys something that you thought you couldn't do without. And out of the ashes, something new is born, one of the things that arises is a sense of power. Not the need to go and disempower, not the need for vengeance, not the need to turn somebody to stone with your gaze, but the need to be free, the need to create in your own way, the need to take power in your own life and not allow yourself to be bullied or oppressed. And this, of course, in the end, is what we are born to be. On some level, this being of light, all the chakras glowing, to move towards that, towards power. Just to say that with this image of Heracles, he had to defeat this monster, which is a very plutonic monster. The monster is a nine-headed being living in a swamp away from the light of the day. This big green mist covers the swamp, and Hercules has to defeat it. So he goes in there and he chops off the head of the poisonous head, and two more grow in its place. So he realizes he can't do it with brute force. He can't defeat this nine-headed monster. He gets right down into the swamp underneath the Hydra, the monster, and he lifts it up above the green smoke mist into the light of day. And this is the process of Pluto. You get confronted with something that is decayed, that is disempowered, that is toxic. You bring it into consciousness, and it's never comfortable. And then you bring it right up into the light of consciousness, into the light of day. And it really does work like this. Some miracle of consciousness occurs, so that where there was wounding and oppression and shadow, a new light, a new strength, a new power. And it's very, very different to Uranus or Neptune. It's body, instincts, but it's my life force, my right to be myself. So we'll quickly do a meditation to meet with Pluto. Oh, and I haven't talked about Pluto in Aquarius, but Aquarius is an air sign. It's mental, and it goes with politics, and it goes with social justice and freedom and revolution. And as soon as Pluto is in Aquarius, we've got all these megalomaniacs, Trump, Musk, Putin, the Chinese dictator, they're all out there for us to see. Do we want this? No, we don't. And so this is Pluto saying, this is what you do, human race. These are the people who are running the show. Is this what you want? And it's Aquarius. So let's get together in groups, and let's meditate together, and let's bring in the light, and let's transform these wounds. So one last meditation, and always starting with the breath, connecting with self, and really breathing down into the body, into the belly. It's the raw life force. Pluto rules sexuality and passion and drive and creativity and birth. And none of it starts in the head. It starts in the belly. It starts in that instinctive body awareness, beautiful body awareness. And we have to learn how to trust that body awareness, how to trust the earth, and how to care for the earth. So breathing down to the belly and feeling the earth, the love of the earth, your home, where you live, this beautiful planet, and the incredible wisdom of the body. Keep breathing, feeling the energy of Pluto, that wonderful fire, the life force, the passion for living, for creating. And that sense of your own power, your own authority to live your life and create your life and write your own story. Bringing consciousness, bringing fire, bringing creativity, and that wonderful flow of life. And it doesn't matter what age you are. Life is always living through you. And just quietly breathing and reflecting, where is Pluto calling to me in my life? where do I need that wonderful sense of personal power, of my inner knowing? My God-given power to live in this body, on this world, and to be myself. And you can experience Pluto sometimes as a sort of glowing coal, like seated in the belly in the pelvic cradle, this wonderful source of power, but also as a root, as that connection to the earth, to the body, to be present in this body, in this moment. And in the stillness and in the silence, to feel the life pulse, the impulse arising, the authentic life pulse. And keep breathing, and just for a moment, just connecting with all three of these great archetypes. You can take your consciousness right up out of the crown chakra and into the cosmos. A beautiful, perfect world of ideas and visions. You can breathe into your heart and the universal love for all beings, for all life. Tenderness, compassion, gentleness, healing. And then down again to the Pluto power. And breathing up to the Neptune compassion and empathy, and then up to the Uranian freedom and flight. And as we sort of coming to a close, asking these three deities, these archetypes, these gods of the planets to be with you and to illuminate your path and bring their gifts and to accompany you on the road. And for the human race, may we find these wonderful beings of light and energy, shift away the rubble and the debris and bring through the light. Evolution of consciousness. And may it be so. And in your own coming back into the room, and we've got 20 minutes. Take your time, make sure you come back into your body, into your center. And if anybody wants to share their experience or if there are any questions, there's an awful lot happening astrologically this year, then so I'm sure we haven't covered all of it at all.
Rebekah, may I say something?
Yeah, Suzanne, go ahead.
Thank you. Am I supposed to raise my hand?
Yeah, or you can click on the raise hand icon. Either one is fine.
Oh, Rebekah, I have to say I'm almost moved to tears by your talk.
Mm.
It is one of the most marvelous gifts that I have heard in a long time. You're so right on with putting all of this together with this astrology, with the archetypes and the myths. And I must compliment you. Your interpretation, you're connecting the dots for us is marvelous. I particularly have enjoyed the graphics, which you have obviously painstakingly collected, because these images, along with your interpretation, they speak many words and evoke many feelings and mental thoughts as well. It was truly comprehensive. I I can't compliment you enough.
Thank you so much.
I
And
thank you.
yeah, the great thing about the pictures and the stories is it goes to a different part of the brain and brings in the imaginal, and whereas astrology can be so mental, and all about the numbers and so on. So that it's much more than that. So yeah,
Yes.
I do love putting
Yes.
the pictures together.
Yes, I have never, for me personally, I've never heard anyone put this together with an
Right.
ancient archetypal
Yep.
myth as well, which I think it's so right on.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank
So
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol?
Yes, I also want to just say how wonderful your presentation was, Rebecca. Thank you so much. I also wanted to ask you about the 3-1 Atlas, which has been moving
Yes.
in our upper spheres.
Yep.
The what? The 3-1 Atlas?
It's a comet.
What is it?
It's a comet, and apparently
Oh,
it came closest to the Earth on December 19th, and it's in March. Apparently, well, Rebecca, you would know more than I, but I would love your
Yes.
comment on it.
I think, I mean, now we're sort of walking on a difficult ground, because I really do feel that we are transforming, that something is happening. The human race is waking up. You're saying to Gloria, or people are saying that we're being rewired, that our even our physiognomy is changing. So I think the comets, so a lot of people that I know really feel that there are other species gathered around the Earth to assist this process.
That's my understanding also from.
Yeah. And so, all these things are here to help us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've just been aware of a little bit on this, but the idea that there are downloads and upgrades for our consciousness, and to be open to in your meditations it's nothing necessarily that we would feel, but to be open and receptive in meditation, and be grateful for these loving energies that are supporting this huge transition.
Yep.
So yeah, okay.
I'll say, 20th century, when I was growing up, my mum didn't know how to meditate. My dad didn't know, it wasn't happening, not in England anyway. And now it's everywhere. Everybody is meditating. Everybody is going to yoga. Everybody is, and then a lot of the young people looking for, well, you've got The Secret, what's that? Abraham's, I can't remember the name, but there's, this whole idea of creative visualization. And then you've got Joe Dispenza, and you're going to the quantum, it's all happening. And for sure, there's a lot of consumerism and commodification. That's what my daughter-in-law told. Commodification of this used to be sacred, and you could only learn it from a monk on a mountaintop, and now it's on it's on TikTok. That's certainly happening. People spending a fortune on rather doubtful processes, and but I'm sure there's lots and lots of doubtful, not so good things happening, and it doesn't matter, because people are getting their minds opened to. It's hard to understand sometimes with the post-truth thing, and the conspiracy theories and the scientific materialists, and it's a difficult path to negotiate. Sorry, I'm not digressing, but in the last sort of 10, 15 years, there's a lot of astrology on Facebook. And so I've been sort of, joined a few groups. And then you get the Vedic astrologers, and they are good astrologers. They are not bad people. They're not out to get you. They don't even use the same zodiac as the tropical astrologers. A few of the planets shift into a different sign in Vedic astrology. So that's one thing, like, okay, what's going on there? Then a few years ago, there was a kind of punch up on Facebook between all the different house systems, and people coming on and saying, no, this is the only house system. And then somebody else, no, this is the house system. 3 different house systems, planets moving into completely different houses. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, what do we make of this? Because I don't think these people are lying. I think they're all good astrologers. And, so the conclusion that I've come to is that astrology is a form of higher sense perception, and some people find it difficult. So anybody who can look at a chart, I think it just takes you through to another dimension, really. If I think back to even when I was a beginner, I think, that's what was happening. That you're reading a book and you're looking at a chart, and boom, you've gone into that Uranian place. And when you study astrology, if you're somebody who can do it, you do the work, you do the study, and you get more. Then the chart becomes a wonderful key, like that turns in the lock, and you're through into a different dimension of thought. And I think this is happening everywhere, with the comets or with the aliens or with different kinds of meditation and I don't understand it, but I feel like more and more we're not exactly there isn't one way. I don't quite get how that's Aquarian, but it is, that somehow there are all these different ways.
It's the freedom from dogmatic thinking, although Aquarius can become dogmatic.
Oh my God, they can, yes.
Yeah, even though it represents freedom, it can become dogmatic, but it's the difference between, saying there's only one way to think, like religious traditions have often said, there's only this way. This is the true way. Well, there are many ways, but there's one ultimate truth, which is who we really are, and the the divinity that we have that everything points to, if we look, so what would you say would be some good keywords for the year ahead? Like, if you look at all these conjunctions and configurations, what would be some keywords to look for, or to consider for 2026 with what we know?
So somehow think the Neptune in Aries is very important. The spiritual warrior, the spiritual activist, and the call to awaken, and to get out there with it. I've just got this thing going through my head that the last time that Neptune was in Aries was the day that the American Civil War started. That's the last time it was entered 0 degrees Aries. And I think that you can see that it's a spiral. We're not going around in circles. It's different, but you can feel it, I think.
Let's hope it's on a higher level.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And then you've got Pluto in Aquarius, which is the people on the streets. Like, no, we're not having this. We're not, you're not going to murder innocent civilians. And but yeah, that, all that, but the inner work, so important to meditate.
Mhm.
It's like, if once you've learned how to meditate, don't stop. And
Yeah.
find that stillness, bring in the light, feel the presence of the divine,
Well, because that, we have to think about how we contribute to the community, not, both our immediate community and the global community. And meditation raises our vibration, and that in turn raises the vibration around us, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all connected.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And it's learning to be that still so that you can, I every month I give a online 1 hour meditation, and I just choose the planet that rules the sun sign for that month. So last month we were in Capricorn, and I did Saturn.
Mhm.
So I introduce the archetype, do a bit of storytelling, and I'm using words like achievement and ambition and structure and engineering. And then we do meditation, as we did just now. And when we came out of the meditation, it's like, nope, not ambition, nope, not achievement, nope, stillness.
Mhm.
One person, it was like, just be in your body. No, don't take it to the gym and don't do a dance class. Just be with your body. And then somebody else, such a depth of stillness. Of course, we're in the depth of winter, and it's hibernation time, but that, it feels really important. That is the greatest gift of Saturn, is silence and stillness. Yes, Suzanne. Yeah.
And it reminded me of a quote I just feel impelled to share. Be still and know that I am God.
Absolutely. That
There you
is
go.
where it all begins. Yes.
Mhm.
And if you can't be still, it's going to be, you're back with Gemini and the mind, and you're out with Uranus with with no heart and just doing the mental. It's got to be the heart. It's got to be compassion, but be still and know that I am God. No, I think, but to come back to this year with all these changes, if anybody's got planets at 0 to 5 degrees, and then you might feel, you might get a bit knocked about by Uranus, or confused by Neptune, or difficult with Pluto. But I think beyond that, oh God, believe in the times that we're in, believe in the change that is coming, but that's with and Carrie, we can be grateful, because we have been born into this time, and heartbreaking times when we see what human beings are capable of, really heartbreaking. And Neptune in Aries, Knights of the Round Table, find the Holy Grail, dedicating ourselves to the quest for the Holy Grail, to bring in the light, to bring in more and more of the light. And then, miracles can happen that we don't even know what they are.
Well, I think we can already see the beauty of the community support. For example, with these protests around the country, and how communities are protecting their neighbors, and and it's strengthening our commitment to be here now, to action for good, right?
Yep. It's inspiring, absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the keywords of Aquarius is humanitarian.
Yes.
And I really see that happening. I mean, I'm so impressed with all these millions of people gathering, doing these rallies and protests, and how peaceful they are.
Yep.
I'm really impressed. with how we've been able to maintain that peaceful approach to desperately wanting change and responding to violence, at the hands of federal agents, and responding peacefully. I mean, I remember in the 60s when there was there were a lot of protest rallies, against the Vietnam War, against, for civil rights and that kind of thing. But they were often violent, where, people were burning stores and burning cars and, and doing all this looting and stuff. And I'm just inspired by the difference, and how we've grown as a country, I guess, and as a species, maybe, that the majority of people are for peace. They're not just for change; they're for peaceful change, right?
Yep. Yes.
And so I think that the emphasis on Aquarius also, inspires that.
I think so. Yes, you would say, Suzanne.
I was going to add, the epitome of that was demonstrated by Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes.
So that was in the 40s.
Yeah.
And they were doing it peacefully. And eventually it made a difference in that country. And that would have been interesting to see how that came out astrologically as well.
Yes, that would be an interesting chart.
Yeah.
The thing
and then Martin Luther King followed suit. He took his ideas from Gandhi.
Yep. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. One of the other things about astrology is you don't have to do anything. You don't have to sort your behavior out, because the planets do it for you. The planets come through, so enough, because the people, they're just doing it. They just know that's what, they're just following the life pulse, which is Pluto. I'm out there, I'm going. And I think this is happening all over the world. And it is wonderful that it can be done, because ordinary people don't want to kill each other. They just want to live their lives and be with their families and their neighbors. And of course, it kind of makes total sense if you look over history. The robber barons, the psychopaths, the narcissists rise to the top because they bash everybody else out of the way, and they, and they manipulate and control and use their money and their guns, to and they're quite tragic figures, really, on a soul level, or else they're doing a soul task. I don't know, but we don't have to do that. And that's Neptune in Aries, and it's Uranus as well, longing for freedom and social justice. I mean, it is amazing. It's not amazing if you're down there, if you're getting beaten up by a federal agent, or if you're in Gaza, or if you're I don't know, anywhere in the world where there's terrible poverty and oppression. Somebody said to me recently that the souls of the people of Gaza have made a huge sacrifice for the world, because now we see it. Now we see what human beings are capable of, and that it was a massive sacrifice they made. But we do see it. We do know. And something else is happening.
Yeah.
May I have one more question before we close? With all of these patterns that we see in astrology and in our myths and our archetypes and so forth, I would appreciate your comment. Doesn't this show us that there are patterns to the way the divine forces are working that are repeatable in cycles?
Yep.
I mean, that much is obvious to me.
Yeah.
And I personally am interested in these codes. I call them light codes.
Yes.
That keep repeating.
You're right back with
but in a spiral. So the potential is there to repeat on a higher level.
Yes,
right?
yes, I think
So
we
not
know.
just a circle, but
We're
a
not.
spiral.
Yeah, we don't repeat. Nothing ever repeats itself. Once you get a little bit of awareness of astrology, it's like the possibilities are virtually infinite within any chart. But you're going right back to Pythagoras and Plato, the harmony of the spheres, the wonder of these patterns of the squares and the trines and the sextiles, and this date in July when everything's going to be at 4 degrees and working, is that going to be a huge flow of consciousness? That I absolutely think that this is one of the main things with astrology, is seeing the harmony of the spheres. You're seeing order in the universe.
Mhm.
And it's mental, you're kind of seeing the mind of God, but you are. And once you study astrology and you see these patterns, that like with Pluto and Nazism, but Neptune in Aries in the American Civil War, that was I know there was a lot of issues in the American Civil War, but one of them was slavery and compassion, and we can't do this. We can't live like that, and that's Neptune. That's Neptune in Aries. We're going to put a stop to this.
Mhm.
But yeah, these cycles, these spirals, and something is and once I love astrology so much, because once you study it, it doesn't matter what the scientists say. It's like, no, I'm sorry, I've seen it. It works.
Mhm.
And there is this beautiful kaleidoscope unfolding. And it's a really exciting year. Yeah, it is. I do feel excited, yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I think it might get worse before it gets
I
better,
think so
but
too. Yeah, there's a long way to
excuse me.
go. Yeah.
But there's a lot of innovation and there's a lot of
So much.
passion for change and and awareness, so much more awareness than ever
This younger
before.
generation that's so aware.
Yeah, of a greater perspective than just our immediate mundane lives. I think and I've often thought, what will it take to wake us up? What will it take to wake up?
Yeah.
Western civilization.
Yeah, we were too comfortable, weren't we?
And when 9/11 happened, and I saw how people came together, and there was so much compassion and service, and and I thought, oh, well, maybe this is what it'll take. And then we went back to, just our ordinary lives and forgot about that. And I thought, oh, I guess what is it going to take? And maybe now,
I think
because what's happening now is affecting everybody.
Right.
It's not just one place, but it's happening all over the country too.
Yes.
And people are, I think, waking up more than ever before. And I think
so.
that's, maybe that has to do with Neptune in Aries also.
And Pluto in Aquarius.
And Saturn conjunct.
Yeah, and Saturn conjunct it. Yep.
Yeah.
I think Pluto in Aquarius. Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. This is what you do. This is what you do. And the young people going, oh my God, I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you, Rebekah, and all you who attended. And let's watch and see what happens and do what we can to make it happen.
Thanks, Gloria.
Thank you
so much.
That's my book.
Thanks, Rebekah.
The archetypes. Yeah.
You can get it on Amazon, Charting the Soul.
Lovely to be with you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.